Hi, everybody. This is Carol Sherwood. Welcome to Stephen Avery, The Devil is in the Details. Today, I've got a real treat for you. My co-researcher, Snoop Doggy Chick, came across an email from 2018, and it's related to the RAV. Shocker. Actually, the key and the RAV. You know, I've already said how much overabundance of focus has been placed on this car. Listen, I got to take my glasses off for this one. So listen here for a second. If something happened and I'm in an accident or you're in an accident and they need to find out, the insurance company or the police are called to the scene and they got to find out who, what, where, when, all this stuff. And all they've got to do is pull out the information that shows you're John Doe, here's your car, here's your identification, here's your insurance card, all of it matches, boom, boom, we're good. On down the road with the rest of the details. That's not what happened in this case. There's way too much focus on this car. So, and you already know that I don't think the car that is on Avery property is Teresa's car. I absolutely do not. I believe it's a decoy RAV, and I think there's plenty of evidence to back that up. So, but let me tell you about this memo because it's a good one. So, on 8/21 of 18, and I've got it over here to the side, so when you see me looking to the side, it's because I'm reading it. This is receipt of an email from Thomas Fallon. Remember, Tom Fallon is one of the state's attorneys in the case. Once in a while, you see him pop up. But what's interesting is he's popping up in 2018, okay? And this reporting officer is none other than John Dietering, the fixer. So on 8/21/18, here's the memo. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to talk about it. On Tuesday, 8/21 of 18, John Dietering received an email from Thomas Fallon concerning a portion of my report, specifically whether Teresa Halbach's RAV4 was equipped with keyless entry. Here comes the key again. My gosh, we just can't talk about this key enough. Fallon advised that he had received information that a citizen named Brenda Schuler, do I hear convicting a murderer out there anywhere? Researched the subject of keyless entry and learned that 1999 Toyota RAV4s did not offer keyless entry as an option. Bam! There it is, folks. We've talked about this. I've put a video out about this out there. 1999s did not have keyless entry. They didn't come with it. It was not an option. You know why? Because the computer, get this, the computer in that car was not equipped to read a chip in a key. So there is no keyless entry, but let's keep reading. I just had to get on my soapbox there for just a minute. He says, however, in my interview with Angie Colosso, remember Angie Colosso in that conversation he had with her before? She advised that the vehicle in question was equipped with keyless entry. You know, Dietering, you played it well. Let's go blame Angie Colosso. I got something to say about that in a minute, but let's keep reading. On Wednesday, 9/5, so a couple weeks later, I made contact with Toyota North America located in Plano, Texas. Any of you didn't know that they, several years ago, moved their headquarters to Plano, Texas? They did. And yes, I've talked to them numerous times. So there's that. The representative in which I had spoken with had researched the VIN from Halbach's vehicle and determined that this vehicle was not equipped from the factory with keyless entry. The representative further stated that keyless entry was not a factory option for the 1999 model year. So all this hoopla, all this information that's been talked about this key and whether she lost the fob and why does she just have the valet key and all that, because there has to be a story for this valet key, folks. There's got to be a reason. Teresa's keys, whether you want to say it was one key or a clump of keys, because she had to have a key to her house and a key to the studio with Tom Pierce, and who knows what other keys that she had, those are out of the picture. They've never been found, as far as we've been told. So all that's found in this case is a RAV4 on the property and a key that supposedly goes with this RAV4 found in Stephen Avery's bedroom, all by itself on the bottom part of a lanyard. So here's one thing. Do you want me to believe that Teresa Halbach carries the only key that she has on the face of this earth to that car on a lanyard around her neck, where she doesn't necessarily take the whole lanyard off and hang that key or store it somewhere, put it in a purse that we don't have, or in any kind of compartment to keep it safe because it's the only key she has, but she disconnects it from the lanyard. You know, they found the lanyard in the car, but it wasn't in a convenient location. This is that bottom part of the lanyard that clips off, unbuckles, if you will, from the rest of the neck part. And that key is found all by itself on that piece of lanyard in Stephen Avery's bedroom. And you want me to think, they want everybody to think, Teresa carried the only key that she had for however long she only had that one key around her neck. But the big focus is, where's the fob? Did it have keyless entry? What happened to her fob? Once again, remember, if we can keep you talking about this over here, you're not paying attention to this over here. You're not focusing on the fact that this is a valet key, and it's ridiculous to think that that's the only key that she had day in and day out. I could see you losing a key. If I lost my key, I might have to operate with the valet key for a very short period of time until I get my butt somewhere and go get another key. Because if she lost that only key, she's up a creek without a paddle, as they say. She can't get in her car, start her car, or do squat, go anywhere. She's in a job that requires her car every day. She's obligated socially. She has a business at Tom Pierce Photography. She has obligations to coach the girls' athletic team that she coached. I believe it was volleyball. You gotta have your car. She had to have her car. I don't believe for 1 second that that valet key is the only key. Well, let me put it this way. I do believe that valet key is the only key that goes with that car. But since I don't believe that that's Teresa's car, and I do believe that that car came from either an auction or a salvage yard, you know, take yourself right over to Google and go look up cars on cars.com, Auto Trader, any of these auction sites for cars. You know what you'll find? A whole bunch of them only have one key. And guess what? A whole bunch of those one keys are the valet key. They're junked cars. They're cars being sold that either need major repairs or they've been totaled. but they don't have all the original keys. Some of them do, but a whole lot of them don't. So that's not too odd to me for that car to just have a valet key. I've seen it all over Google in my research. But for Teresa Halbach to have a job, multiple jobs, and obligations that require transportation on a regular daily basis, you are not going to convince me that woman only owned a valet key. But if we keep you talking about the fob and we keep you focused on what happened to her keys, what did the killer do with her keys, where's the fob, where's the other, keyless entry, let's focus on that a little bit. If we keep you talking about that, which they've been quite successful at, remember, go look at these posts on Reddit, Foul Play, all these podcasters. Man, they all talk about the key, the fob, the keyless entry. Wonder what happened. It's happening just like it's planned. Focus on the fob. So you won't ask about that valet key and you won't dig too deep about that valet key. Well, here's another report. So this is a backtracking report. This is called a CYA move. You know why? Once again, in 2018, you've got Kathleen Zellner appealing a denied motion. All right, so she filed, wanted all these things. Remember in 2017, all of those follow-up interviews by Dietering were so they could make sure they covered their heinies in answering any questions about the damage in the key. And then here you go, another year later. Here we are now 13 years after all this happened. Remember I said on the 2017 reports, 12 years later, who gives a rat's hind end about that car and that key? That's a done deal. But now, here's another year added to it, and we're going back and talking about the key again, and it's the keyless entry. And what's happening is Tom Fallon is correcting John Dietering at the information supplied by none other than Brenda Schuler from convicting a murderer. You know why? Because convicting a murderer was gathering their information. And here's what I want you to remember. With Brenda providing that information to Tom Fallon so he could correct John Dietering, so John could write a report correcting himself so that if Kathleen Zellner gets to digging in this stuff and finds this information, their butts are covered. They've corrected themselves. Did you guys know that all these years later, they've now come out and said, oh, gee, there is no keyless entry. And we confirmed it with Toyota. By Jovie, that should have been done back in 2005. And I'm going to tell you something that I wonder right off right now. Angie Colosso, remember, she's the body shop manager at Colosso Toyota. She's the one who supposedly told Dietering way back when that the car, in fact, did have keyless entry because she looked up the VIN and she sent Dietering the build sheet that has nothing on it stating keyless entry. But he says Angie confirmed it had keyless entry. See, they needed that report for keyless entry so they could continue that conversation talking about the fob and the lost keys and all that stuff to know that she had the one key. They needed a story for the valet key. I want to read you the rest of this report. It's just real short. This is the best part. Dietering says, I believe I associated the term power door locks, a feature that Halbach's vehicle did have with keyless entry. Halbach's 1999 Toyota RAV4 did not come from the factory with keyless entry. I want you to listen to this sentence one more time. I believe I associated the term power door locks with keyless entry. Now hold on a minute, because he's already told us that when he interviewed Angie Colasso, she confirmed that it had keyless entry. So now he's completely contradicting that, and he's saying, I believe I associated the term, which completely contradicts his first claim that Angie Colasso. If you believe you associated the term power door locks, at this point, who really cares about that? Because what you're correcting is Colasso's confirmation. So my question is, Angie, did you know that you confirmed that this car had keyless entry when Dietering interviewed you and said you looked it up with the VIN? I'm just curious to know if you know you did that. There's no keyless entry on this car. 1999s didn't come with keyless entry. You say, Carol, what's the big deal? It doesn't solve the case. No, it doesn't. Not by itself. But let me tell you something. You can't ignore the focus on this key. There's so much in this case that is meat, and it just gets ignored. Because why? Because the focus is over here. Keep them talking about this. Keep them discussing and fighting and wondering about something that is completely untrue, so they won't ask questions about this over here. There's no reason for this report to come out in 2018 by Thomas Fallon to John Dietering except as a CYA move. That's all it is. Because if Zellner digs a little deeper and she finds out that it doesn't have keyless entry, then this stuff starts making a little bit more sense that we might need to dig a little deeper and then a little deeper and might find out more. Remember what I told you before? They had to make sure with the key cut code and with the replication of the ignition and the door lock cylinder, they had to make sure that Zellner could not trace this key back to any other RAV. Or if she could, is that possible? You better stop thinking that this isn't possible. That key and that car are not Teresa Halbach's.